Heat Live, delivered by Papa John's, has been brought to you in part by Pasteur Medical Centers, improving the quality of life, and by Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. We continue on here with Heat Live, delivered by Papa John's. It is time for us to check in on the AT&T U-verse poll question. And with Toronto in town, we thought we would go international. And here's what we have for you. Eventually, and I truly believe this, I've looked David Stern in the eyes, and I believe that the NBA will expand outside of our continental borders someday. Maybe not in Ira's lifetime, but I believe it. Which country would you like to see the NBA expand next? Spain, Brazil, China, Mexico, England? I apologize if your nation is not on our list, but that's what we have. You can text 789-789, standard data and messaging rates apply. We will check in on the results of the half with our panel. Remember, for the best Heat Talk on the radio, make sure you're tuned in to 790 The Ticket, the only place to hear Levitar, Stu Guys, Sedano, the Sports Brothers, and Zaz. It's on the flagship station for the Miami Heat, 790 The Ticket. And there's a reason why that we hit 790 right here in the show. First of all, we love 790, but it's time for the round table. Play a little 5-3-1. And we went to the ticket just a little bit to get it done. Yeah, we did. Ed Freeman, one of the Sports Brothers, the sane one, is with us on the program. Ed, good to see you. Jeff Fox also on the program.
What's going on, Jeff?
Ed? What's happening, baby? I know it's tough to hear. Yeah, Jeff, we know you're a Kobe fan. I just let you out. You and your Lakers fan, but today we'll let it go. We'll let it go for a little bit, at least till halftime. And my brother from another, that's right, Ira Winderman, 23 years. Reporting on the Miami Heat.
We were the original Sports Brothers. Yes, Jason, you stole our nickname.
All right, guys, let's get into our conversation. Since we have all these South Florida guys, let's get into a nice debate here. And Ed, we're going to start with you. You get to start this off here. We want your top 5 South Florida athlete ever, high school, college, or pro. Fire away.
All right, well, Jax, I'm going to start it with, and I did my list a little differently. I wanted to get all of the athletes who were born or moved to South Florida at a very early age and represented early. Number 5 on my list, I got to go with Alex Rodriguez. You got to love a guy, of course, he's going to be the next home run king. A guy who went to Westminster Christian right here in South Florida, donated so much money to the Hurricanes. Never went there, but he's a Hurricane at heart. And how can you not love a guy who kisses himself in the mirror? I had to go with him. Number 4, I had to go with Randall Hill. I got to represent for the small guys. I'm a small guy who always wanted to be a big-time wide receiver, and Randall Hill was small, but he played big time at the University of Miami. Of course, he is in the Hall of Fame. He owns the return and kickoff yardage records there, and he's an all-cool guy. And how can you go with, forget about 3rd and 43? Randall Hill, that's my number 3 guy. Devin Hester. A lot of people are going to probably shake their head and say, why Devin Hester? Well, when we get to our next question, you'll find out why. But Devin Hester, one of the most dynamic kick returners to probably ever go down in NFL history. He's at number 2 for me. Number 3 for me. Number 2, Udonis Haslem. Enough said. The Warrior. The man right here, of course, representing for the Miami Heat. We want to see him cut back healthy real soon. And number 1, I got to represent for the Hawk, Andre Dawson, former, of course, MLB. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a FAMU, a Rattler like myself. Andre Dawson gets my number 1 man for best South Florida athlete.
And Ed, that was an excellent list, but you just killed Jeff's time. I know you'd have 2 hours on the radio. We only got a half hour show. So, Jeff, you got to fly through your list now. Go.
No problem. I'm going to start from the top, Jax. I'm going with Dan Marino, South Florida's favorite son, as the greatest South Florida athlete of all time. I know he didn't win a ring, but he really should have. This guy is great. My whole list is based on greatness. Dan Marino, number 1. Number 2, Dwayne Wade, NBA Finals, 2006. Well over 34 footers and 34.7 a game. That series, some ridiculous number, somewhere in that neighborhood. This guy was greatness personified. Number 3, Ken Dorsey, starting quarterback, University of Miami, 38-2, Jax. This guy should have been 39-1 with 2 national titles. We know he got robbed. Number 4 on my list, Alonzo Mourning, Mr. Miami Heat, Mr. Tenacity on defense. If there was the greatest NBA defensive team of all time, Alonzo would be on that list. And number 5, the Marks brothers, Mark Clayton, Mark Duper. These guys, at least one of them should belong in the NFL Hall of Fame. They are the reason Dan Marino was there, and they are the reason that there's also a Dan Marino Boulevard.
Jeff, that is 6. I asked for top 5. The Marx Brothers is 2 guys, man. What are you doing?
I got to count for him every day on the show. I got to count for him every day.
I'm never going to get mine in, so Ira, go ahead.
I'm trying to go as quick as I can. I went to personal favorites here, and the top 2 guys on my list are just great Miami Heat guys, charitable work, Caron Butler, P.J. Brown. Sometimes you talk about stats and what guys did on the court. These were good people. These were guys you would have to take care of your kids, just great guys. I go 1-2. To me, a guy like Bernie Kosar not only succeeds here and restarts the tradition at the U, but stays in the community. You see him out at the park in Weston with his kids, sort of a local guy and what that means. An eclectic number 4. I was here when Randy Johnson started with the West Palm Beach Expos of the Florida State League. To be there at the start and realize how old he is now makes me realize how old I am now. And number 5, basically, I just put down the guy who caught Dan Marino's first touchdown pass because I thought Sedano might be on the show and wanted to have a little fun with it.
Very nice. Very nice. You got your guy. You got your guy. Here's the bottom line. My list doesn't change a whole lot from what the guys have as well. But I want to go down to number 5 because I had to get a Marlin on my list because I love baseball and I love Juan Pierre and I love a guy that steals bases and climbs walls and catches fly balls because I was a light-hitting outfielder that couldn't make it past the 12th grade in actually being asked to be on a team. So let's go to 3. We have the AFC and NFC championships coming up tomorrow. I want to know 3 of the most impactful players in the game. Not about favorites, not about who you think's going to win, but the impactful players in either championship. Ira, you're up.
You know, I have to start with Troy Polamalu and what he's done for the Steelers. He has the Achilles. We're not sure if he's going to play, but, you know, in almost in a basketball context, in basketball we see a box and 1. It's almost like the Steelers play a 10-in-1. He is everywhere. Safety, corner, linebacker, on the edge. I think he's just the most impactful player, and he's going to get in Mark Sanchez's head. When it comes to quarterbacks, I think Aaron Rodgers is the class of what remains right there. We saw last week, clicking between the Heat game, of course, in Chicago, and that Falcons game, that he is clearly the prime quarterback here. And because of that, I think Julius Peppers really has to be more active. In 2 games against the Bears this year, the Bears have only had 2 sacks against the Packers, but they caused 5 holding penalties. Julius Peppers has to be active, or else Aaron Rodgers, I think, is going to take control there. So those are my 3, but mostly Troy because he got the good hair, and I'm a little bit jealous.
Whew, Ira, you bring tears to my eyes with all that NFL talk. That was awesome. Who we got up next? We got Jeff coming up. Give me your top 3.
I can't argue with Ira on that one. I'm going with Troy Polamalu as well as the most impactful guy on my list because I think this guy is a big-time player. And what does he do? He makes big-time plays. He always seems to be at the right place at the right time, similar to Ed Reed in Baltimore, but he's always the one guy that can make a difference in a football game like this, and the guy that can be the key to winning and losing in a championship game like this. Number 2 on my list would be LaDainian Tomlinson of the New York Jets. Why LT? He's old, he's washed up. Well, not quite. This guy still has a second gear. I didn't think he had. And of course, he'll make things a little bit easier on Mark Sanchez on the dump-offs, the screen passes, because the Jets are going to have to find a way to offset that Pittsburgh Steelers ferocious defense and that pass rush. And number 1 on my list, of course, is going to be Mark Sanchez, the quarterback for the Jets. Had a great game last week against the New England Patriots. Yes, he can be erratic, very young quarterback, but I think he's very, very, very key in this football game. And I look for him to have a good game. If he does, I think the Jets are going to be there, man.
And give me a quick 3.
All right, my number 1, I've got it similar to everybody else's. I got to go with Mark Sanchez. I think they're going to give him a really good game plan to try to go in there and manage the game well. He can't be erratic, as Jeff said, but he's got to go in there, keep his head on his shoulders, and manage the game real well. He's on the verge of making a record. If he wins tomorrow, that's 5-1 on playoff roads. It's going to be a playoff NFL record, so that's going to be crazy for him. Number 2, Troy Polamalu. I think he's going to play tomorrow, and he will be the one that's going to be blitzing it up in the middle, chasing down receivers, chasing down running backs. He will be a key for that Pittsburgh defense to try to get that win tomorrow and keep Mark Sanchez in check. And the 3rd guy, like I mentioned in my other list, Devin Hester. He could be the game changer in this game tomorrow.
Don't kick to him.
Don't kick
to him.
I have Troy,
to him.
but the most impactful cat in this game already has been Bart Scott because of the greatest quote ever. I can't wait. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, here we go. It's our 1. And guys, I give you the question, just the answer. That's it, then we move on. Here we go. Jeff, let's start with you. What is the name of your producer of the Sports Brothers?
Eric Reed.
Very interesting. Let's go to Ed on this one. Ed, what is the name of the play-by-play host for the Miami Heat?
Eric Reed?
Yes, and Ira, we in with you. In 2002, the Marlins drafted an outfielder who made his debut in 2006? Who would that be?
Not Cody Ross, but Eric Reed.
Very nice, everybody. Good work. Excellent job. Hey, they're not done. They're coming back. And when they come back at the half, we have so much to discuss. Of course, we'll get the poll question in there about where the NBA should move. But also, it was 5 years ago today that Kobe dropped 81 on the Raptors. What player in the NBA could do that, if any? Could it happen all this time? But up next, it's the broadcast breakdown. And have the Heat been calling our friends at AT&T too much, going long distance? I love AT&T. You can never call them too much, but you can shoot too many threes. I know that.